This is a recipe for a midlife crisis. Like, imagine you're just holding on to this unlived life throughout your 20s until you one day I'm gonna realize this. Then you turn 35 and you're like, yeah, I might have a few years. Then you're 40 and you're like, fuck, the time is over. It's irreversible. I'm gonna die someday.
Whenever there's boredom, I always feel like there's something to get there, because why would someone be bored? For example, a lot of times I feel like it's anger. I don't know how you guys experience that, or actually when you're working with anger, but it just came up to me like this. Some people might think, oh, like not much is happening. Like, yeah, I know that's like boring. Oh, like stuff needs to happen. I need to always be on the run for the next thing, like care about the next thing. And then it's kind of like a distraction mechanism.
Welcome to the Spiritual Bypassers podcast. In this episode, we talked about Ashley Velvet Frost, who's held hostage in Bali. If you want to know what happened there, stay on the line. We also talked about the eternal child, this Peter-Pan syndrome that leads men to just not growing up and staying stuck in childhood. And we talked about what your humor tells you about your shadows and how thinking about and getting into resonance with your humor can get you to a place of discovering your shadow. And we talked about Jannick's mushroom trips. He got treated by aliens and he found out a lot about his inner child and his inner critic. And if I was you, I would watch or listen the out of this episode. So enjoy yourself. Okay, guys, welcome to a new episode of the Spiritual Bypassers podcast. We're super stoked. We haven't talked in years.
Yeah, years.
In years, in like astronomical years, whatever that means. So we just decided to dive right into the episode without any chit chat beforehand, because so much has happened and we want to, take you with us on that little journey into our lives and all the psycho-spiritual goodness that waits for us. So we have Ashley here, who is in a very special, interesting, also luxurious. We have Jannick, who is, only, I would say, in a luxurious position. There's nothing much else going on.
That's my life.
Handsome German in whatever situation he is in. And then there's me sitting on a grandpa chair and talking to you and pretending like I'm the host of this podcast, which is not true.
You're doing a good job, Tim.
Thanks. Yeah. I didn't like the transition didn't really work. So but Jannick, how are you doing? What is life?
Yes.
What is life?
What is life? Life. What's
Life is life. Na.
I am currently in Sicily. This is my first time in Italy. I had my first Italian coffee 2 days ago, and it was delicious. And never order cappuccino after 11 a.m. in Italy. They will laugh at you and make fun of you and think you're stupid. So, yeah, because that's breakfast. They only use milk in the first half of the day, and afterwards they believe that's unhealthy and not good for your digestion, and it's tradition and all of that.
And then they eat like shitloads of pasta with
cheese.
But
God knows what.
About that, I always thought, gluten is not the best for my stomach, not the best for my skin. I tried the pasta here. So far, my skin looks
You're glowing. You're literally glowing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that might have been the power nap that I just took in the sun before coming to this podcast, but it might also be the weather and the pasta in Sicily. Could be.
I love the subtle flex. Might just be the power nap that I took in the sun in front of my $2 million villa. I don't know what.
$2 million villa.
Not quite. Not yet.
That's what's happening for me. And Ashley, what is this special situation that Tim was mentioning just now?
Well, the video even looks like I'm stuck. So I'm stuck in Bali.
What a terrible place to be stuck at.
And I feel like we can talk about it because by the time this episode comes out, 98% sure I will be out of Bali and safe in Europe and never coming back to this fucking island again.
Because they won't let you in.
For 6 months.
Oh, shit.
No. So, yeah, it looks like I'm in a cell. I'm not in a cell. I'm just found a co-working space with Wi-Fi. But I've been in Bali already 3 weeks. I should have left on Sunday. It's now Thursday. So I missed my flight on Sunday. And yeah, there was just a little bit of a mix-up because we rented a venue here and we trusted that venue to have fully informed us of all the requirements that we would need as a team coming here to hold an event for our online students who are coming together here in Bali to meet and to, co-create. So that was not correct. And we were reported by someone who had inside information from the company.
Shit.
One of our students, someone who got hold of information from one of the students. So the government came on the penultimate night and threatened to take us away if we didn't give our passports. And they were like, "Yeah, it's now Friday. You will have to come into the office on Monday for interviews." And we were like, "Yeah, but our flights are on Sunday." They're like, "We don't care. That's not our problem. Give us your passports." So yeah, since then we've been in a waiting game for a few days. We spent 8 hours at the office on Monday with no air conditioning, giving interviews, waiting, lawyer doing some stuff, waiting, nothing. Go back home next day, didn't hear anything for like most of the day. Decided to fire the lawyer and get a better one. Flew one in from another island to the German embassy, recommended. And some more things moving now. It's fully corrupt. They want us to pay in cash and they haven't told us how much. So the top options are like pay in cash or get deported, which I get it. Under their rules, something wasn't right. And we also shouldn't have just trusted the venue, who were also in trouble. So it's a bit shit. And we thought we'd be gone by now. But the timing is so bad that the highest boss of the immigration office happens to be in this office this week until Saturday. And so these people are obviously doing something illegal and they don't want their boss to know. So they've like slipped the files away and they're like, no negotiations can start until Monday next week. And with negotiations also means talking, paperwork. So our lawyer was like, maybe you fly on Wednesday.
Wow.
And we just don't know.
Wow.
So yeah, so at least we have a bit more. We were like, okay, well, we could, if the boss had found out, we would have been put in a cell that whole time with no phone, with no laptop, nothing, like no books, just clothes, which would have been fucking horrible. So I'm very grateful that we can be free to roam the island, and we've now moved a bit more north. And we have a big house with all 12 of us that looks like something from a James Bond villain. Like, it's very nice. We're not posting anything yet. And obviously I would have left by the time this comes out. Or we make sure this episode comes out once I've left.
Exactly. We can decide when we upload it.
But I sent him the
good news is if you're listening to this, Ashley is out of the country, okay? And if not, that's sad. She's still there.
Celebration. Welcome home, Ashley.
Yay.
But yeah, so I have to say the villa thing we're staying in now, because obviously when you're a bigger group, you can split it between more people, and actually it's not that much.
Yeah.
And it looks like the house from the movie Parasite, like the Korean movie. Like it looks like the Thunderbirds live here, and that the pool is going to move away and spaceships are going to fly out of the swimming pool. It's wild.
Wow. At least you have a luxurious jail until you can leave.
Like you said, you're like, I don't know whether I should say I'm sorry that you're trapped, or like, congratulations that you're trapped in paradise.
What is it? It's a little bit of both. But since this is an emotional growth podcast, so what have been some present emotions that you've been dealing with, and how did you deal with them?
Well, it's funny because today at lunch we were looking at the change curve of like how people deal with change, like first denial, then bargaining, then depression and anger. Like we were looking at where we're at in the scale. So for sure, like when the officers were there, we were in the like anger, denial, but anger stage. I even at one point called one of them a CUNT. I was like, I need to rein this in if I'm gonna go to the interview on Monday. No, but they were so much on a power trip. Like the venue host was just asking a question, like a simple question. So, okay, and like, can you tell us exactly like which law or like which? And she's like, I just want to explain that we have the permits. Like we thought like us having it was enough to then bring this team in from abroad. And I kid you not, this guy who, first of all, his eyes didn't look in one place. So I was like, which eye do I look at? Like, where are you looking? And he was like this. He was like, yeah, yeah. Are you done? Are you done? And I was watching this and I was like,
oh shit.
And I was like, and then everyone was like, and I was just like in shock at like, they really do not like women, especially if you talk factually. Like there's really icky vibes. Like they'll listen to the men, not to the women. And they took all the women in to interrogate first on Monday. So emotions wise, I've never been more present the last days. Like we're like, are we in fight or flight, or are we just really present in the moment? Because we just don't know where we'll be and we can't land. So
Thank you. Yeah,
I don't know what to feel like. I've accepted now. I've got like 5 days in this other part of the island, and I had to cancel a lot of work, and I'm super pissed about this. And I have to buy new flights whenever I can be told to leave, and I have to pay fucking bribe money to leave this country. So I'm quite angry, to be honest, because it's like my hard-earned money, my hard-earned savings, money that I was kind of relying on to get through the next months, while things are like investments are happening and growth is happening. So I'm still very angry if I get to the core of it because of how corrupt everything is. And at the same time, apathetic as well. And thirdly, this is like the closing of this team. Like this was the last training. This is the last and it actually feels like a little bit of like a funny, fucked up way that the universe is like, yeah, you guys get like one last like trip together, like last bonding and last like, yeah, I don't know, really the vibes are good between everybody. Like if I was stuck just with like one person in this process, we would like kill each other. But there's 12 of us, it was actually 13 because someone's boyfriend is here. And it's just funny. Like you can just be goofy. And yeah, there's a couple people who we've had at previous trainings, not Tim, but like other people who used to work with us, who if they were in this situation, we'd already be in jail. Like of how dysregulated I'm talking about a certain blonde-haired man. If he was with us, we would be in jail. Yeah, that's my update. Bit of a weird one.
Thank you.
Hostages.
Thank you for sharing. Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot.
I mean, I also want to share because we were at a training about this, of the method that you both have also worked with. And I have to laugh because the final closing sharing, I thought of you both because of the episode we did about people sharing like nothing in sharings. And like, yeah, I just want to say thank you so much to the team, and I see you all, and I'm so grateful for all of you. And I was like, so many of the sharings, I was just looking at them, like I was like, so bored. They're saying nothing. Like, where's the depth? Yeah. Not to say like the group were amazing, one of my favorite ones, but still, it was like in my retreats, like it would be like, okay, we get it that you're grateful. We get it that you really enjoyed the week. We get it that you see yourself in everyone else's sharings. Like, just assume that's a given and then go a bit deeper, please.
Yeah. So where's the resonance, right? Like, where's the vulnerability and that like you can really sense it. You can sense if somebody is sharing something like just from their head, Or is it really like something individual, something specific, something that's really about them and about their process, and not hiding underneath some, just some words that you can use whenever you share that always sound kind of, yeah, you can always say thank you. You can always say I'm grateful. You can always say I see you. My heart is touched. Tim, give us an update.
I'll give you an update. I'm in Berlin.
Are you stuck in Berlin? Are you in jail? What's happening?
I'm stuck in Berlin. To that, I want to say everything that Ashley talks about sounds like the intro to like a reality TV show. Trapped in Bali.
And there's no coincidence that this is Ashley's life.
They were forced to stay. Oh no, we have to stay here. He wants to make me out.
Existential kink.
We are vlogging a lot more now. Like I'm filming a lot more of what's going on. So there's gonna be some after movies of like idiocy.
Remember in the book Existential Kink, she says having is evidence of wanting. So some part of you really enjoys being stuck in Bali and like, not knowing, like the uncertainty. I think it matches well with the dream analysis that we've done in the previous episodes. And
we know everything about you, Ashley. Nothing is secure.
Yep.
Yeah. Next time I can come on and you guys just predict what I'm going to say for the episode, and I'll just be quiet the whole time.
It's an open book. But now, Tim, you're not.
Also, sorry, I just wanted to add because it's linked to Tim, but
it's what?
Efforts to bring me in. By the way, Tim, no.
Stop.
Actually,
Tim, it's not yet your turn.
It's super cool. I need to share about
it. No, I just wanted to add the last aspect is that my account's going a bit viral, and that's also thanks to Tim because he's helping me so much with this, and it's popping off. He just sent me a message about it. So yeah.
I'm happy for you guys.
Not as viral as you, but yeah.
Nice. Yeah, not yet. I'm doing my best. So it just started to rain here. That's
the German.
The Germans. No, I'm in Berlin at the beautiful Maybachufer in a tiny flat. In a tiny flat, once upon a time. And I'm doing really well. Life's ups and downs. I'm currently studying and working a lot, and also taking my own healing, whatever healing means, my holing, my becoming whole more serious, and deep diving into some topics that have been bothering me and that I want to find out more about. And also doing, more meditation, going to the gym regularly, things like this. So I'm living a very controlled, slow and patient life here, which is really, really nice. It's exactly what I needed. I think in the first episodes I was in Portugal and was longing for exactly what I experience here. And I can just feel by the difference how constantly traveling and living this so cool nomad life was actually just dysfunctional and not healthy for me. And now I'm in Berlin. I have a tiny flat, living with my girlfriend. We're moving into a bigger one in a week, and I love it. Like, I can wholeheartedly tell everyone who's like traveling and is sort of like constantly stressed and doesn't know why, just for a moment imagine you are coming home to home. Yeah, like you're coming home, literally. Like you're closing the door behind you, and the place that you enter into is just yours, and you will stay there for the next 6 months. It's so relieving, and so fills me with so much peace. So I don't have many adventures to share. I haven't bribed the government yet. I haven't committed any crimes. I'm a good German. I only walk over the street when it's green, sometimes when it's yellow as well, but yeah. Not much to share. I'm enjoying my life thoroughly.
I'm happy to hear that. And yeah, it's so interesting, right? Because this is such a big topic in the healing realm as well. It's like living a life where not much, quote unquote, is happening, and like how it can be for some systems like really actually like boring, but then underneath the boredom, oftentimes some other emotions are hiding. And so whenever there's boredom, I always feel like there's something to get there, because why would someone be bored? For example, a lot of times I feel like it's anger. I don't know how you guys experience that, or actually when you're working with anger, but it just came up to me like this. Some people might think, oh, like not much is happening. Like, yeah, I know that that's like boring. Oh, like stuff needs to happen. I need to always be on the run for the next thing, like care about the next thing. And then it's kind of like a distraction mechanism. And when you really come to stillness, like you, Tim, so I can kind of like really appreciate that you bring this up, then you can test for yourself, can I be in stillness? Can I be in like boredom? Or what happens when my system really like comes down to stillness?
Yeah, I found with boredom, it's the same. I found the same antidote to boredom and purposelessness as I found to phone addiction, actually, because I was asking myself, okay, I want to stop being on my phone so much. I want to get below 4 hours of screen time, which at this point I achieved, which is amazing. Just noticed that. And I was asking myself, like, okay, if I'm not on the phone, then I need to do something else, because I can't just put the phone away and then stare into nothingness. So my cure was also for boredom. Obviously not cured, like I'm bored from time to time and use my phone for distraction and my phone for
Your phone, your dog.
my phone for obviously my phone. But yeah, like what life do you want to live, and what's more meaningful to you than scrolling on the phone or being bored? And that for me was a purpose, just a purposeful project to bring that into my life and working on my own healing journey. So that's what I can say to that. Like, I don't even, the idea of going on my phone doesn't pop up anymore. Like, oh, I could watch some reels right now. Oh, now scrolling, or oh, I'm so like overwhelmed and things like this. It gets less and less, because I'm like, I don't even like scrolling on my phone, because what I do, I enjoy so much. So that's good.
Yeah, congrats. 4 hours is very low. Also because it's WhatsApp as well included.
You were alone?
No,
No,
not very long.
4 hours is very low, like screen time, because that's also counting WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can wholeheartedly recommend. I think I talked about this before.
You have, yeah.
I don't touch my phone, and this is life-changing, because the phone is, I think we had a whole talk around this already, so I don't want to get into this, but really, 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 if you take nervous system healing seriously, consider thinking about or restricting your phone usage. It's a night and day difference, really. And
Yeah,
that's another cool thing that I was sorry, that I want to bring in, is sometimes just stopping behavior that you think would be good to stop is already the cure. Like, oh, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, then just stop doing it and see what happens. Something else will pop up. Like, oh, I'm on my phone too much, then stop, just stop. Or, oh, I'm sleeping in, and oh, I'm eating bad food. Just stop doing it. Like, don't, some things just don't need to be analyzed, don't need to, sometimes it's just about action, and see what happens when you just don't do it, and then feel the emotions or thoughts, beliefs, tensions that come up.
That's it. That's the thing.
Boom. Free therapy.
Free therapy. No, but that's the thing. Like, then just feel what comes up. I mean, that's exactly the reason why people are not stopping, because the emotion that comes up is too hard to feel, right? So boredom, for example, can be really hard to feel. But like, maybe what could be helpful is a boredom meditation. It's like, okay, really connect with the sensations in your body of boredom. Like,
It really
we're doing that actually today. Plot twist. We are talking about only boring stuff today. So you get to connect with your feeling of
Start shopping
boredom.
list. 2 hours of
But
Jannick reading a
there,
shopping list.
I have to add, because when I in 2021 did ayahuasca women's weekend, we had night one, all the women like not focusing, and my shaman was like really annoyed with us, and she was just like, I'm steering this boat and none of you are on this boat with me. And she's like, she's a very intense, but I love her, but she's intense. And then she just left the teepee in the integration morning and came back with her fucking iPad and got a YouTube video of this sketch that is literally a therapist. Someone will come in and he's like, yes, I'm $1 per minute and I never need more than $5, so you can start. And then she'll be like, oh, okay, that's such a good deal. Here's the money. Yeah, so I'm really attracting like the wrong kind of guys, and I'm always attracting these guys who are not available. And he's just like, stop it. She's like, what do you mean stop it? He's like, STOPIT, stop it. She's like, but how? And, like, it carries on with like a few topics, and it's like I was laughing so much because it's just like my fucking ayahuasca shaman showing us this YouTube video. She was like, stop, she was like, get out of your fucking stories. Just be here, be present with your body and with the sensations and with the medicine. And like, because it's like a sitting ceremony, it wasn't a eyes closed laying down. Just be here, be with the music and be present. And I was like, it was such brutal medicine, like from her, but it was actually like very needed sometimes. Like, everyone shut up.
Because exactly, because you're so, that's sometimes like the most radical things they have the potential to really change a lot in a small amount of time, or they don't, like they just fly and they just pass the whole like story, the computer that's like making up all the stories up here, and it's like, no, you can't just stop something, like that's way too easy. I've been doing this for 5 years and I've made like little progress over time, a little bit, and that's how it works. That's how growth works. And you're so opinionated, and you are not willing to let go of your healing stories, of the things that you made up for yourself that are part of it, like this healing identity, this like, I need to heal. I'm doing this ayahuasca ceremony, and the next year I'm going to do another, and then let's see what happens and stuff like that. But if you really get to change your perspective, you can really determine how you want to see the ceremony. And the shaman was probably trying to be like, this is it. This is it. Like, stop it. This is the ceremony. This you can just change it. And then you are confronted with the stories and with the thoughts and your beliefs, but it can also show you like how much you can sometimes be just identified with these beliefs, and you're not willing to let them go. And that's why you can't change, because you're not willing to you're like really holding on to it. It gives you so much safety. It's like, who am I without this belief now that I can just stop, that no, I can't take on that belief. Then I am gone. This is part of me. This is part of who I am. And then you can let go.
Yeah. And also you're victim to your own beliefs. Like, you are a victim of yourself. And that's not such a good place to be in. And in terms of stopping what you know is not good for you, is just as important as just trying to start doing things that you think are good for you. Because we all have this voice inside of our heads that is telling us, oh, you should do this, and this would be good for you to do. And I think one of the hardest tasks in life is to discern between healthy conscience, like a healthy, well-meaning voice, like almost like the archetype of the self that is prompting you into an inner evolution that is maybe not easy, and a shame-based narrative that tells you you should be more nice and you should be more this and this, that is almost punishing. And sometimes just doing the things that you tell yourself you should do since years is the cure, is actually maybe what you just needed to do. Maybe you should go for a run in the morning. Maybe that's your medicine, and not pondering about it. Maybe you should go to the gym or call your mom or whatever, and not think that it's shame and it's a should message and whatever. Maybe it's not. Maybe it has a point. So stop doing the things that are not good, and then start doing the things that maybe are good for you. Just actionable work.
I like this. Yes, actionable steps. Really, this is what oftentimes is missing, because people are so stuck with not taking action, being like, no. I need exactly the way I am right now. I need to be able to feel good with myself. And only then am I here, because otherwise I do stuff and then there's the next thing I need to do and the next thing, and that won't work. So I need to feel good the way I am right now. And, exactly. The other part is often missing, where you're just like, why don't do what your mind tells you to do? It's good for you.
Yeah. Or, if you think, oh, I'm not good the way I am, or something it's a tension in your system. It's the tension of almost like an unclosed loop. And an easy way to close the loop is just telling yourself, oh, even if I'm not cleaning my room or doing this or that, I'm still okay. And then then this loop is artificially closed. But actually, maybe it's prompting you into something that is hard and that is yielding more lasting peace.
And you haven't been following the fear, and the fear shows you where to go, but there you're just avoiding the fear and being like, no, I'm gonna stay in my comfort zone, meditate my way out of my problems.
So long story short, become literal David Goggins. That's what we're telling you to do. Just do 100 pull-ups every day and 10,000 push-ups per week, and you'll be okay.
Yeah, everything else is bullshit.
Of course.
Tim, you had some topics that you brought.
Yeah, Tim, you got topics for this week.
I got topics for this week. As you know, I'm a friend of literature and books, and there's two interesting parts of the books that I'm reading right now that I want to show you. The first one is this book, Pour Eternus. It's by Marie-Louise von Franz, which is a Jungian psychologist, amazing woman. And this book deals with a very specific archetype slash cluster of symptoms that I think a lot of men especially are falling into. And I just want to talk about it. And there's one section that perfectly describes this archetype. And when I read this book, it was just page after page. It was revelation after revelation, but not the good ones. But actually, I felt mirrored in the most painful way. I felt so exposed in my shadows, which is an amazing thing. That's also why I got kind of, I love reading this book. But bear with me. I think this is it's a very common thing, and I'm curious as to what you think about it. Now the page has been crashed. Here is it. Oh, here is it.
The German.
Okay, Pour Eternus. This is it. He gets up at 10:30 a.m., hangs around till lunchtime with a cigarette in his mouth, giving away to his emotions and fantasies. In the afternoon, he means to do some work, but first he goes out with friends and then with a girl, and the evening is spent in long discussions about the meaning of life. He then goes to bed at 1, and the next day is a repetition of the one before. In that way, the capacity for life and the inner riches are wasted, for they cannot get into something meaningful, but slowly overgrow the real personality. The individual walks about in a cloud of fantasies which in themselves are interesting and full of rich possibility, full of unlived life. You feel that such a person has a tremendous wealth and capacity, but there is no possibility of finding a means of realization. Then the tree, the inner wealth, becomes negative and in the end kills the personality. That is why the tree is linked up with the negative mother symbol, blah, 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 Jungian word salad. So there's this, I would be curious, Ashley, of you to hear, because I assume that some of the guys that you've dated maybe were like that. And it was so revealing to me, especially this topic of having so many ideas and wanting to do this and then wanting to this and this could be cool. Oh, and this philosophical theme, but then none of it gets realized. Like you have so much wealth inside of you, but all of it is just left alone by your incapability of putting things into action. And maybe that's also why I'm so, my inner David Goggins is on the forefront right now, because I can feel like this is what I personally want to integrate more.
Well, you basically just recited my ex-boyfriend. So who didn't have a job the whole 2 years I dated with him, because he was always awake in the hours at nighttime, making music, reading about psychology, writing, like super intellectual, creative person, but just doesn't fit into this structure of what is successful, efficient, productive in the ways that we in this society channel towards productivity. So it was always very tough because, I mean, you know how I am, and like the drives that I have, and would want to create that with someone, and I felt like I was always like having to like drag them like along with me. Like, yeah, it was very frustrating and put me very much in the masculine energy, more so than society and my upbringing has already done, in a way of like feeling like you need to be in it to stay safe, to stay like that you can hold yourself even if the rest of the world can't. Yeah, so it doesn't feel safe, those kind of guys. Like they can make for very good conversations, they can be exciting for like a fling, like if you're in Greece or something and you meet a really like guy like this, but it's not really the kind of person that you're like gonna look at and be like, oh yeah, I want that to be the father of my children, the man who's like not getting shit done. So,
yeah, totally. And I can sense that I was just imagining, I had the image in my head of like a man sitting in his room, and the room is just covered with, ordered like old pizza and trash, and nothing has been dusted. And he's just reading a book about the meaning of life. And then calls his best buddy, who is also, stoned on his couch and has got nothing done, and they philosophize for 3 hours about the meaning of life and this new thing, and they are like, we got it, but it's just wasted.
I mean, you have to imagine, I've known that person the years we were together. We broke up 4 years ago now, and still the same phrases I hear. It's like, yeah, like soon it's gonna be my time, like it's gonna come together soon. I'm like, bro, it's been like 7 years now. Like, when is it coming together? When is this big break of something, of work, of music, whatever it is, that's the hobby of that time? And it's just boring after a while. Like, I want to believe in people's potential, but I also, like, for women, like, we always fall for people's potential, not what's right in front of us.
Yes,
we always think we can fix them, or like we can nurture them and grow them into the plant you want them to be. And it's like, no, like this avocado tree is not giving avocados. It's giving like little squiggly moldy avocados, and you want like a proper tree. I don't know where this analogy is coming from, but
it's so interesting, because what you just said is also like it goes in, it's called the provisional life. Like the here and now is always, like, for these kinds of people, myself included, especially in the past, it's getting better, but the here and now is always conceived to be a bridge into a fantasy future. Like, oh yeah, what I'm doing now is cool, but actually in the future, the real thing is going to happen. And that is super destructive, because for me, I discovered also through this book and the corresponding work on myself that I live, like, part of my trauma is never really arriving on Earth and having ideas and having visions for the future that are so grandiose, and the ability to captivate people into that, and take people into my fantasy world, which is amazing. And, that's basically what art does. But there's also a shadow to that, where you just sell your soul to a future that might never come, because you're not able to live with your 2 feet on the ground.
And if you're looking at this from the emotional release work, when you're looking at the chakras, and this is what was the deal with my previous partner, that there's lack of disconnection to the root, like the lower three. Yeah, there was an intense disconnection from a parent at age 2 who went to jail. So of course, like the whole lower chakras of feeling safe are like completely disrupted. So all the energy goes up. And it's like all the ideas and the thinking and the voice and the talking and all of this up here, but none of it is really like going into fruition. Like this is action, rooting is feeling safe. It's like the lower chakras are like in a way super dysregulated, except the second in a way, in an excessive way, because they're following like the pleasure of chasing these ideas, but it's not really in like a healthy way. So yeah, the Eastern Body, Western Mind book I found very interesting with that, because it would have all those different character structures. Like it's not that you're deficient in all of them, it's more like maybe the top 2 and lower is one type of personality, and then like if only the middle ones are active, then it's another type. And I was like reading through that book and I was like, oh, that's my dad. Oh, that's me. I was like, oh, it's like reading us to filth.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So that is that. Jannick, what is going on inside of you? Are you?
Jannick is typing, I think.
I'm not typing. No, I was listening and I was observing. Okay.
You're pulling out your grocery list because that's boredom.
I thought we were talking about boredom. Well, I can.
What is in your glass of water? Is that a crystal?
A crystal pyramid. Yeah.
You're so spiritual, Jannick.
Wow.
That was my girlfriend. But I am spiritual. Yes,
you are.
In case you didn't know, it's funny because I read about this archetype before, maybe a year ago or so, and I identified with it a lot as well. So I know this kind of shadow inside of me, and it's kind of, it scares me. Yeah, this shadow. It's like, oh shit, yes, I can see it inside of myself. And even though some people from the outside might look at me and be like, no, you don't fall into this archetype that much, but just if I look at myself, yes, for sure. And I think it has a lot to do with the mother as well, and this like eternal connection to the mother. You might know this better than me, Tim, but when I read about it, I remembered that you were like, you never really letting go of her, and you're staying a child, basically. I mean, you're an eternal child, yeah. So forever a child, dreaming, being like, yeah, the next thing. And when you shared about this guy being like, yeah, soon everything will come together, that's already a childish statement, because it would never happen that everything will come together. In retrospect, it might look like everything came together that in that one moment or that 1 month or that 1 year or whatever. But it's never like that, really. When you're going for something, it's like the baby steps, they're like one after another. And sometimes you're really unlucky, nobody talks about, then you're lucky and everybody's like, wow, he made it. And it's living in this fantasy world, like you said, Tim. And I can see this pattern in myself as well. And especially for me, what resonates is when Ashley shared about how that makes a woman feel. It's like, fuck, that's not how I want to make my woman feel. I want her to feel safe with me. So whenever I am in this archetype or in this energy, and I can see it in myself, because I'm a Gemini. I love to have like creative ideas and to fantasize and be hyped about things and stuff like that. So like, and this is great. And when women first interact with me, they love it. But then, I need to prove that the things that I'm talking about, I'm actually taking action and it's actually happening. And then that can sometimes be really challenging for me because I have this tendency there. But at the same time, I also know from my projects that I have and my life that it's possible to counteract and to balance out this tendency. And this is really when you stop dreaming and stop being like, yeah, everything will come together at one point, and you're just like, okay, what can I do today to move into this direction? So you become more like outcome independent, and you really just like looking every day, like you said, Tim, how can I make this more purposeful for me? How can I get this into a direction that works for me? and take action, take action, small action steps. How does it feel to take action? Why don't I want to take action? Because this is where existential kink has helped me so much as well. This is where you can then actually notice you don't want to achieve. Like there's a part in these people and inside of myself that I discovered, I don't want to achieve things. It's fucking scary to achieve things and to actually for things to work out and be like, for example, you're dreaming about a retreat place, and then all of a sudden you're in this house and you have this opportunity, and someone wants to give you money, and it's like, oh, this might actually be the time where my dream comes true. Fuck, I'm fucking scared. I'm anxious. No, and you find a million ways why this is not the retreat place that you want, or why you can't take this money, or why like this is really difficult, and you start to get out of it again, and then you know, oh yeah, I'm sabotaging myself all this time, and I want to stay in this situation of almost there but never there, almost there but never there.
Endless possibilities.
Yeah, exactly. Because once you actualize something, the endless possibilities are gone. Once you have a retreat place, you can't have any other. Once you have it, you need to actually work there and do your stuff, and you can fail and shit can happen and it can break and whatever. So it sounds all like really great in fantasy world, but once you actualize stuff, you need to be able to deal with all the ugliness and the ickiness and the disgusting parts of life that happen when you actualize stuff. And it's never as flowy and flowery and beautiful as you imagine it. It's always dirty. Everything is dirty. And if you can't accept the dirtiness of actualizing things, then you will always be that little Peter Pan child.
Peter Pan.
Peter Pan. Peter Pan. That's a good title for the episode. Don't be Peter Pan. What's the English version of Peter-Pan? Peter-Pan?
Peter-Pan.
Peter-Pan.
Yeah, Peter-Pan. It's funny because I actually, the phrase you said around like guys still being like connected to the mother, I literally reposted a post yesterday that was like, wars are happening because men just haven't forgiven their mothers. Because like war is essentially against the earth. It's against like killing, it's against women, children, civilians, the environment, animals. Like everyone suffers when this war is happening. And it was like a lot of this is happening because of people having unresolved topics with the root, like mother and father issues. Probably for a different episode, but I just like the synchronicity that came up.
Yeah. And what came to me was that this is a recipe for a midlife crisis. Like imagine you're just holding on to this unlived life throughout your 20s until you one day I'm gonna realize this. Then you turn 35 and you're like, yeah, I might have a few years. Then you're 40 and you're like, fuck, the time is over. It's irreversible. I'm gonna die someday. And fuck, I'm a human being. I'm bound by constrictions and I'm limited and I will die someday. Oh, the world is not a fantasy. It's not eternal and there are not eternal possibilities. And what that plays into that, how that plays into my experience is that I am not as special as I think. Yes, I'm an individual. Yes, I'm every human being is special in his or her or whatever own regard, but also I'm just a human being amongst billions. And there is this notion in this archetype that I am the chosen one, and for me it's different, and for me it's gonna be special, and it's gonna be until the reality comes crashing down, and you're like, fuck, actually I'm also just made of flesh, and actually I also just have my flaws, and actually God is just treating me as he treats everybody else, and I'm not that special altogether. And to realize that for me was very healing, like this value of authenticity that I very much clinged onto and was like, authenticity is the thing. And every value that we identify with in that way automatically creates a shadow. And for me, doing the work in the past days was realizing the shadow of authenticity and wanting to be a sovereign human being and really valuing this highly the shadow of that is almost like thinking that you're superhuman. And the golden aspect of the other side of this is a healthy way of blending into the crowd and thinking like, yeah, actually, I'm just a human being. There's nothing really special about me. And people around me are probably having somewhat of a similar experience in life as well. They have the same interface. They also experience emotions. They have ideas, different ones than I do, but actually it's all quite similar. And this was very healing for me to experience.
Yeah, because that's the part, like thinking in extremes is always a part of keeping yourself stuck. And you're like, yeah, this extreme of like me becoming this, I'm gonna be the next Elon Musk, I'm gonna be the next whatever. And then you always keep yourself in that loop because you can never really start, because you will fail for sure. If you think in these extremes, it's already the recipe for failure, because failure, you decide what failure is and what not. And when you have like really, really high standards and you think in these extremes, like Ashley's ex-boyfriend, and you're like, yeah, everything will come together.
We don't do that. It's just Ashley's ex is the scapegoat for everything.
Exactly.
Like it's the standard, like just don't go here and then you guys are good.
No, that's mean. Yeah, and like I did as well, Tim. Me, yes, I did it. Then you're like, yeah, it's just you can never achieve that. And so why do you do that? Because a part of you doesn't want to. So it's the perfect recipe when you always want to dreaming really big, but then using these dreams not as a motivation, but as a way of kind of like keeping the gap so big that you're always that you're never starting, and that you're always so far away from that, and that you still always need to dream about it instead of actualizing.
Well said. Sips from his pyramid water.
What is topic number 2, Timmy?
Yeah, I was just about to build a bridge into that. So we were talking.
Wall.
Huh?
It's gonna build a wall.
Ashley doesn't need bridges. She just flies there. Boom.
I need a passport. Give me my passport back.
Just bribe the officers. I don't need.
Are we gonna
bridges.
go?
We're trying. They won't even let us bribe them right now.
Fuck. Yeah, we were talking about the shadow, generally speaking, and ways of uncovering the shadow and sort of what lurks in there. And I want to present the second book that I'm almost done reading, which is this one. It's called Meeting the Shadow. It's a beautiful book. It's a collection of different essays by Carl Jung, James Hillman, and so on and so forth. And in one section, it talks about different ways of identifying the shadow. And one way I found really fitting was using humor to identify the shadow. And I want to, again, read a section, and then we can have a discussion around this. There's also a joke included in here, so we have a few nuggets along the way. How cool is that? A fourth pathway into the shadow, personal shadow, is the examination of our humor and our response to humor in general. Most of us know that humor is often much more than meets the eye. In fact, what is said in humor is often a manifestation of shadow truth. People who strongly deny and repress shadow, this is good, generally lack a sense of humor and find very few things funny. Right, so the more funny you are, the more you have your shit together in terms of shadow work. But let me move on. Consider, for example, the old story of the 3 clergy in a small town who got together weekly in a support group of sorts. The longer they met, the more intimate and trusting of each other they became. One day, they decided that they had reached the level of trust where each could confess his gravest sin to the others and thus share his guilt. I confess that I steal money from the offering, said the first. That is bad, said the second, who then went to confess. My gravest sin is having an affair with a woman in an adjacent town. The third clergy clergy, hearing the wretchedness of the other two, declared, "Oh, my brothers, I must confess to you that my most terrible sin is gossip, and I can't wait to get out of here." Most of us laugh at the conclusion of the story because it is funny, we say. But more than that, the story hooks our own shadow element of gossiping, and we delight in identifying with the expected pleasures of the third man. The third man will enjoy as he spreads the word around town about the sins of his two colleagues. Last sentence. Of course, we know it is wrong, and we certainly wouldn't do such a thing. But remember, amongst other things, shadow is all that we wouldn't dare to do, but we would like to do. Finding the story funny actually enables us to perceive ourselves a little more clearly.
Shadow is what we wouldn't dare to do, but would like to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
An aspect of the shadow. So if, for example, someone says something that is really triggering you, chances are that a part of you, not your, not you, period, but an aspect of you that you have repressed actually would have liked to say the same thing or conduct itself in a similar manner, but it's just not allowed. And that is sort of what I've found is what humor is doing. Humor, also when you laugh, I find this interesting. When you laugh, you cannot control laughter. Like there's this video of, I think you both know this, of I think it was a Dutch
It's French.
in a TV show, and there's I mean I'm even laughing now, but there's I think disabled people in the audience or something, or he's interviewing a disabled person who has like a very high
Yeah.
voice, and the person is speaking like, and it's just
He had an injury on his vocal cords.
Yeah.
It's Dutch. I thought you meant the one where they brought together people with unusual laughs. That was a French TV show where they had like 7 people with crazy laughs and they were triggering each other and laughing.
I saw both of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the story, the person is speaking in a highly pitched voice, and the show host cannot help but bursting into laughter. Like he's trying to stop himself laughing, but his shadow is sort of coming out through the laughter, and he tries to repress it, but it's not possible. And end of the story, I think he lost his job. There's interviews with him on YouTube after that. He's super ashamed. Like it's terrible. Like he suffered from that. And I find interesting that laughter just comes over you and is just a shadow like coming out in an impulse.
There's an amazing clip from an English game show called The Chase, where you're like going up, you're against like the chaser and you've got to get up levels and win money. And one of the questions one time was like a famous German Winter Olympian, and it was like 4 different options of the names, and the name was Fanny Schmello. And the host is like, they're like the host and the contestant are like trying to hold in the laughter, and then everyone, even the chase person who's super serious, they were all like bursting out. I have to send it to you guys. It's so funny. And he's like, so it's like his shadow also just like, normally you're not allowed to say those words on the TV.
But I heard that comedians actually have the biggest drama. So yes, probably when you can laugh about it, that's a good sign. But when you become a comedian, you take it even further. That means there's no other, like this is your way of dealing with the trauma, but deep inside you're really hurt, and you probably alchemizing that kind of using this kind of shadow to create jokes.
Yeah, I mean, look at Robin Williams. Like, it's a lot of people with depression are also comedians. Like, I totally see that as well.
I would also say that they don't just reveal their personal shadow, but the collective shadow as well. Like a good comedian is able to say things that everybody sort of wants to say, or that is at least lurking in everyone in a society. And the laughter is coming out because, oh, he fucking said it, and it's so exciting. And people are just just bursting out. And I wanted to bring this in because I find it an interesting exercise to pay attention towards what you find funny. Like, what is it exactly that is not getting into your head too much, but just be curious, like, about the fact that laughter just comes over you, and then seeing, like, why is this grandma going over the street and people are honking and getting mad? Why is this such a funny scene to me? Am I like enjoying? Is there maybe a sadistic part in me that is like, yeah, funny, they are having such a bad time? Or, there was even whole TV shows about like people failing at things or hurting themselves, and it's just hilarious to some people.
Yeah.
And where does this come from? Like, strange.
Schadenfreude.
Schadenfreude.
The word that has no word in English.
Or the same one, yeah. I don't know. Is it possible to analyze? I mean, that's a really German thing, to analyze your own humor. It's like, so this is funny. Why do you think this is funny? Tell me exactly why you think this is funny, because I don't understand. It's like, I feel like it's kind of part of it not to talk. Okay, so
you
now
say these words and I'm having a spasm in my face. What is this happening? My cheeks are rising, and what is this movement in my chest? This is so bizarre. I'm sick. Something is wrong.
Something is wrong.
You became French, guys.
Now,
sorry.
Yeah, it became French in the end. No worries.
Something is wrong with my face. What is this?
But the French, can they laugh? I don't know. Yes, I think.
What are you thinking about?
For this one, why are you thinking? I think it's, that is kind of like, I find this funny because there's some truth to it. Like, I actually sometimes do it. Because maybe I'm having a hard time relaxing, and I can't like just be in the moment and laugh. I need to analyze stuff or just enjoy the moment. I need to go into analyzing. So there's some truth to it, and I can find some of that in myself. So then it is a shadow. Like, even though I'm not doing it in the way that I'm just exaggerating, of course. But yeah, I have it for sure. So isn't there a saying that there's a little bit of truth in every joke? I feel like that's
it's in sarcasm.
In sarcasm. Okay.
Like, most of sarcasm, there's like 90% of it people actually mean, but they mask it. It's actually very accurate. Like, because we're also in England super sarcastic, but it's like, okay if you do it sarcastically, but it's like, in reality, what your insides are actually thinking.
Your insides. Right.
It's so scary. Now I'm scared. Like, every time someone's being sarcastic with me, I'm like, fuck, that's what I really think.
Don't be scared, Jannick.
How do you deal with that, knowing that, Ashley? So every time somebody is sarcastic with you, you're like, fuck, they really think that. How do you deal with that?
Ashley is usually on the other end, I tell you that.
I'm the one giving it, yeah. I'm a bit mean sometimes.
But you don't mean.
I'm just being truthful.
Now I'm just being truthful, and then she's laughing as if that's not the case, but actually, yeah.
No, but like, I mean, even if someone's being sarcastic, they're still speaking truth. So then you're like, oh, okay, that's how they really feel. Even if they can't own it themselves, like the sheer fact that the joke came from somewhere. I even watched an episode of Dr. House a week or two ago where one of the patients had this, that he suddenly something was blocking in his brain where he could no longer lie, and he just had to always be honest. And like, he'd just be honest about everything. Like, the doctor, and he's like, I'm picturing right now like how it would be to have sex with you on this MRI machine. And he's like, I'm so sorry. Like, it's just what's coming out, no filter. And like, to his wife, and she's like, yeah, but he's like, yeah, your job doesn't mean anything. It's a waste of time, and it's pathetic. And she's like, I know that you're sick, but it means that these thoughts were somewhere and you were just not expressing them beforehand. And it was like very intense.
Yeah, that sounds dramatic. I don't want this in my life. Take away the drama.
Jannick, wait, yes. I had a doubt. I remembered.
Oh my God.
And this is going to make for a good episode, that when I see you next month, when I was in the cacao ceremony at the retreat, I had a very strong download that you and I need to take mushrooms when we are in Mallorca together.
Okay, wow. Yes.
The reaction.
I mean,
It's like
yeah,
you offered a record deal. Oh, okay. What?
that's insane.
Well,
No,
okay.
I mean, I took mushrooms 1.5 weeks ago, and like the highest dose I've ever taken, like a really heroic high dose, and
Wow.
it was
You're really cool.
I've never done a full
really
dose.
cool. Okay, yeah, I don't know if we should do full dose, but we can talk about it. But that's interesting because I feel like I
It
need to go
dropped
back.
in with my cacao. I was like,
Yes, if Mama Cacao said yes, we need to do the mushrooms, then that's probably the fucking truth.
I asked for permission.
Pachamama,
Pachamama, Pachagama.
Pachagama, exactly.
He's toned it. Our friend who does the cacao ceremonies has completely toned it down because of all the bullying he's received from us. He does barely any of it now, any of those words. He just does the minimum. And I feel like we kind of squashed a little flower by mocking him so much.
Oh no.
Yeah, but
with us, Ashley means me and her. We all did it. We all.
I loved it, and when I hear this, it reminds me of this wonderful experience in Turkey, and it's just so sacred to me. So yes, I'm making fun of it, but maybe just because I can't hold in all the beauty. The other day, I heard a theory about why do men, or women probably do it too, but in this case, it was a man, bully or tease their partner. And one theory is because they can't hold all the love. It's like there's so much love and care that they've probably never received in that moment, and then they need to like laughter or like ejaculation. It's too much energy. Yeah, you can't hold it. It needs to go out. So it goes out in terms of like in the form of a nasty comment or whatever it is, or some teasing. So that's really interesting. So I guess that's
It's like in a playground as well. Like even as kids, that happens. Like Tim and I, we were at the retreat that I held this July, August, and one of the participants had this dynamic with me a bit that he would be like super like everything I was saying, he was like really pushing, like a little kid. And at the end of the retreat, he was like, "Yeah, I really noticed that. I feel like a little boy on the playground who's like trying to like flirt with you by being mean," and I was just like, I see this happening. I mean, I'm obviously the host, so anyway, but it was just very funny to like observe that behavior coming from like a nearly 50-year-old man. Like really this little 8-year-old boy is like
exactly the eternal child as well. Yep. Stamp, boom.
Yeah.
Analyze done. So okay, so we can use some more time for the analysis of some parts of my trip, right? I mean, you guys are so good at analyzing. We've done dream analysis here, so why not analyze something that happened in my trip? What do you feel about that?
For the closing part, because we're already a bit over.
Okay, but Tim needs to pee like there's no tomorrow. We stopped the podcast.
So Tim peed.
Yeah, Tim peed. That was fast.
How was that,
traveled.
It was getting especially tense when Jannick talked about things coming out and was this upward movement with his hands. I was like, fuck, can I really do this? And then he was like, and another thing that I want to discuss. And I was like, fuck, I can.
Oh, you thought it was
more.
Yeah, people listening can always go to the toilet, but people recording, they can't, right? It's kind of mean. Or
maybe someone is listening to us while they're on the toilet.
Yes, hello there. Enjoy peeing.
Send us a picture. Send us proof. We'll shout out in the next episode.
Yeah, exactly. Remember to put the toilet seat back down afterwards.
Yes.
Remember to wipe your ass.
Yeah.
Or you have a shower, a bum gun. Then you don't need bum gun. That's a nice thing.
Can I ask one question before Jannick starts? Because this is linked to like the difference of men and women.
Yes.
Trigger warning, I'm going to talk about poop. When you wipe your...
Which direction?
When you wipe your butt, do you just wipe like the surface, or do you also like go in the butthole a little bit to get poop from also inside it?
I go inside, I really make sure it's really clean since very young age. And I think I do it a bit too much even. Like I'm a bit too perfectionist with it. It's probably not good for my butt. So that's why I enjoy bum guns.
I'm using the claw technique. I form a claw with my hands. Actually,
what? Wait, what?
The most disgusted. Not with the, oh my god, I'm
claw.
Claw. I take it. That's it.
I do it like a cat.
I don't lick it.
The claw technique, like you. Oh my god, I don't even want to answer this question now.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think claw technique, that's enough. People can ask ChatGPT about it.
Google claw technique. Or
message Tim privately for a demo.
Google the finger technique. It's a German, old German wisdom. Old German YouTube wisdom.
I thought Germans would wipe their butt like this.
No, there's a German YouTube video of a guy who explains how to wipe your butt. If you only have one leaf, of toilet paper left.
One piece.
And you put a little hole in the no?
No. No.
At least the most disgusting. This is gonna be about poop. We're gonna talk about poop.
Too many episodes are about poop.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't believe we
Let's move on to the mushroom story. Okay, so I'm gonna make this short. I'm just gonna take a specific part of this trip. Okay, I took a high dose and it got really intense. I was alone. Okay. And I needed, yeah. And I needed to let go. And this can be a pretty tough process when you're alone and you have nobody there. And then what happened is I made this trip like really, really extreme. And meaningful. So in my mind, this was the trip that determines my life. Okay. So every decision that I make on this trip determines what kind of a man I am in my life. And so there were, in the beginning, there were these two options. Okay. I thought there was an alien surgery, kind of like aliens operating on my body and like finding some stuff, and they tried to show me where I am, because they were like, you're hiding, where are you, okay? So they were like trying to find me. That was pretty intense, but I kind of like know what happened there. It was like I'm hiding underneath all my symptoms, and and what's that?
So know what's going on.
Yeah,
just doing the thing.
Yeah, it was pretty natural, like pretty. And then I couldn't go deeper. Okay, so probably I was afraid, and my rational mind kicked in, and I was like, "This is it. You can't let go. You can't let go. You're too afraid. You're too afraid." And then like the trip went on, and the more the trip went on, the more panic I got, because it was like, shit. If I can't let go, and it gets higher and higher and higher, like what does it say about me, and about like it's gonna just be more intense, it's gonna be more painful not to let go. I need to surrender, but I can't. I don't know how. Fuck. And then soon the trip will be over, and nothing will have happened, and so many different kinds of thoughts. And then there was this option between like calling my girlfriend, because she wasn't there, but she offered like I can call her, which was, in the end, I think I didn't like to have that option, because it came into my trip and then it became an option but I didn't want to go to my laptop. I didn't want to call someone in the middle of a trip. I was like really high, and it was also, there was some embarrassment involved as well, because I was like, I can't be tripping and not do it myself, and then like ask for help on the phone, on a laptop. That's super weird. Like it's not how I imagine my trip to go. Or I do it myself, and like I fight through, or I somehow manage to surrender and let go. And it became this, and then all of a sudden became a symbol for, do I decide for love, or do I decide for freedom? And later on it became, do I decide to be like a person who does something, like in German, a Macher, someone who does, like takes action, or am I just a talker, just a clown, just a fucking clown who talks, but never does something? And it was so interesting. It was just like, there was nothing in between. There was just these two things, like either you do this or you do that, either you call or you do it alone. And it became so extreme. It's like, if you make the wrong decision now, your whole life, you will be a sick old man and you will die unhappily and all the love will be taken away from your life. You need to make the right decision right now. And I didn't know what the right decision was. And I have no idea why I was so strict with myself, right? And it was so hard for me to be kind and loving to myself. I was so hard with myself. This is probably a reflection of this part in me, like the inner critic, the inner judge was like always, you're wrong. This sense of wrongness, always make the right decision. You need to make the right decision. And otherwise you're not good enough. And really, really bad things will happen. Like really the worst things, like not only do I die, but before I die, I get really sick and I suffer and all the love gets sucked out of my life. So yeah, just like listening to that, I want to stop it here. A lot of other things happen, but what's your resonance when I share this? Like, what do you feel like happened there? What parts might have been active there that got, because that's what usually happens on psychedelics, right? The things that are inside of you get enhanced and like they show up in really extreme, strong ways. At least that's one thing that can happen.
I'm gonna let Tim answer this one.
You guys are just in shock.
My resonance is like, it's kind of hard for me to follow in a way. It's hard for me to step into it. So I can't give you an honest answer. Also, it's 9 p.m. and my capacity is very low right now, but yeah.
I understand.
I found like my resonance, I don't have like further explanations on this, but I found I somehow sensed something like a child, because it's also, there was a lot of fantasizing about possible outcomes and like this magical thinking of, if I do this, then this will inevitably happen. And that's a fine line between spiritual intuition or vision and actually just an inner child that is also in an interesting dynamic with a inner critic, like an inner grown-up, and it's like, make a decision. And it's like, oh no, if I can't decide, this and that will happen. And the inner critic is saying something like, if that happens, it's your fault because I'm telling you to make a decision and you're not doing it, and so on and so forth. So I felt like helplessness and a lot of expectation, like a lot of this is what's supposed to happen in the trip, maybe like setting it up to be very meaningful, which in of itself is good, but yet again too much aiming at something like that, too much aiming at meaning and controlling the environment can mean that the spontaneity gets lost. And this is maybe also the symbol of the child, like the spontaneity and I don't know what this trip will bring. No idea. I'm having a rough aim and I'm setting up the thing, but what happens from then on, I don't know.
Yeah.
And also aliens. That
was just another part. Yeah, there are many other things happen, but no, that was beautiful. I love that, and this is exactly. I mean, I already did a lot of integration on that, and this were some of the things that came up: the inner critic and the child, and the children always think might think in these extremes. There's no like shades of gray in between of like, maybe I can make this decision later, or what does it say about me that I need to make this decision right now, and being like super strict and probably having experienced something really bad and a feeling of I can make a wrong decision and then something really, really bad will happen to me. And all my life I have to avoid this wrong decision.
Yeah. And wrong and bad are also extreme categories that are, there's no nuance there.
Yeah, exactly.
Very black and white.
Yeah.
It's very Gemini of you, this whole.
Yeah, it is Gemini, like these two parts. Okay, yeah, thank you for that short dive and your opinion on that part of my trip. And I guess we will round it up now, right?
We'll round it up.
Round it up
And
wrap it up.
Yeah.
We'll flush it off now. We've been breeding something here for you guys. We'll just wipe it off and flush it away. So thank you for listening to this beautiful episode after a long time of not talking. It was great to have you back on your device of choice. Maybe YouTube, maybe it was your phone, maybe it was you while washing the dishes or being on the toilet. We're thankful for you listening or watching. And we'll see you again in another episode.
Next week, and share this with a friend if you think they might like it. Subscribe, like, comment what you liked and what you didn't like about this episode. We are reading the comments and looking forward to your feedback.
And always when you laugh from now on, stop laughing and ask yourself what
and analyze.
If you took one thing out of this podcast.
Stop having fun, guys. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.